It's not clickbait. I stand behind the title on that thumbnail. Not all modern music sucks, and not all music from the golden age is magnificent or are masterpieces. I was conditioned to think otherwise, but the truth is, there are great songs that are being written, performed, and recorded every day. They just get lost in the massive jungle of this digital and streaming world that we live in. So, in this series, The Modern Golden Age of Music, I'm on a mission to find the signal by tracing back the DNA from some of today's contemporary artists and some of their tracks, back to the legends who paved the way, introducing the new through the lens of the familiar. We're going to start with Jamie Rhoades. Imagine a voice that somehow combines the weathered grit of a Kris Kristofferson and the melodic, yeah, I guess so, melodic sound from Tom Waits. Jamie writes with the poetic depth of his inspiration, Townes Van Zandt. But he's tackling today's world as he sees it, drawing on the songwriting prowess from some of the artists from the 1960s and 70s. This isn't retro. We're not talking cover songs here. We're talking Jamie and his continuation of a lineage. By breaking down 4 of his tracks and drawing direct parallels to some of the giants who define the craft, including the haunting, high, lonely sound of Townes Van Zandt, the casual finger-picking cruelty from Bob Dylan, the dignified despair from Kris Kristofferson, and that raw, blue-collar testimony from the boss, Bruce Springsteen. So let's meet Jamie, but before we do, I'm going to encourage those of you who feel like the soul of this country has shifted underneath our feet. Stay tuned to the end of this episode. Jamie and I will be discussing his newest track. It's called America. It's a powerful bridge, in my opinion, between the world we remember or want to remember and the landscape we're living in now. Let's dive in. Somewhere I read that there are over 250,000 contemporary singer-songwriters.
Wow.
Is the number accurate? I don't know. It's just a big number.
It is a big number.
What I do know is that's a lot of people seeking to find their way in an environment that's increasingly tougher than ever. I first saw Jamie performing at the Jinx Building. It's a music venue, a very unique music venue in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. It was part of the Jack Windsor Song Swap.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to the Jinx and shout out to Jack Windsor.
Yeah.
And the first thing that struck me, Jamie, was your voice. It's different. It's gritty, grounded, kind of Tom Waits like.
Yeah, I've heard that.
But not exactly. Kind of Kris Kristofferson like.
Yeah.
How would you describe your sound?
Well, I do hear Tom Waits a lot. I get John Prine sometimes because through the battle of finding my voice, sometimes I'll write a song that almost at least I feel requires more of a deeper, grittier, darker kind of voice. And I can sing that way. And I can also sing a touch higher than that. It's still a grovelly sound, but one can be significantly lower than the other. And that depends on the song I'm writing. And I, at one time, was just torn on which way to go, but I've just embraced it now.
As I come across artists I've never heard before, there's so many, and a lot of them sound the same. You clearly don't. So I want to encourage you to embrace that because it is a point of differentiation.
I appreciate that.
Here's the other thing that caught me. I heard this lyric, and I want to know about it. It's from your song called Broken Man.
This song is called Broken Man. 2, 3, 4. I got the scars to show. Wear 'em on my skin, and they cover my soul.
8 years old, and I got the scars to show.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
When I first started writing songs, and that song was one of the first few that I wrote when I started seriously songwriting. And I just started writing about how I felt and like things that I went through and just stuff I know. They say write what you know. And I just was in a zone of doing exactly that. I was 48 at the time, when I wrote that song. This is going to be a vulnerable thing to say. I mean, like a lot of people, I have a real good personality, sense of humor. We can talk all day, but you would never know that I would suffer from depression on this side, or severe anxiety on this side. And I'm a happy person. I'm happily married. I do what I love. I have a great job, kids, everything that you would want. I love and have, and I appreciate it, and I'm thankful for. But still, I think it's from just the past and the experiences people go through. That line basically just popped right into my mind when I was writing the melody for it. And once it did, it was almost therapeutic to write Broken Man.
And of course, that's off your album On My Own. Actually, you got a volume 1 and a volume 2. One of the things that you also talked about at that showcase were the influences. You mentioned, I remember you talked about John Prine, you talked about Dylan, Townes Van Zandt.
Yeah.
Now, who is Townes Van Zandt, and why his music particularly resonates with you?
Oh, well, Townes Van Zandt is a singer-songwriter from West Texas. And around the 70s, there was an outlaw country thing going on. Willie Nelson was part of it, Waylon Jennings. Those are the most famous ones,
Right.
Johnny Cash and, the Highwaymen. But on the other side was these guys in Texas, who was Townes Van Zandt, Guy Clark, Blaze Foley. He died at, I want to say, 50 years old or something like that. Might not even have been 50, to be honest with you, but he was young. And those songs from Townes, it's funny, I was at an open mic. Jesse Carter runs it over in Kent. I was at an open mic once, and I had wrote a song, and she said after the show, "You did good. Everything sounded great, but can I just ask you one thing? Don't get mad. All your songs are so sad. Can you just write a happy song?" That's what she said to me, and we laughed about it. A day or two later, I was looking at Townes Van Zandt little short or something on YouTube popped up, and it's hilarious that it was right after Jesse said that he was being interviewed by somebody, and the guy asked him, "Why are all your songs so sad?" And then he goes into this speech where he goes, "Well, they're not all that sad, really." He goes, "Don't you think life is sad?" And he talks about that a little bit, about life just being hard. But Townes was a little different for me than like Dylan. Both fantastic songwriters, love Bob Dylan. But Townes felt like home to me. I was born in 1975, so I lived through those early 80s, and America was different back then. And when Townes sings these songs, it really reminds me of just my childhood. And when I see him even on TV, on these documentaries, he looks just like my uncle or, my grandpa, or, he looks just like one of those guys, and he feels like home. And the songs that he writes do too. The feeling I get from Townes matches that depression or that anxiety or that struggle, however you want to put it. But I can feel that, and I can relate to it so much more than any other songwriter. That's why I kind of put Townes on such a pedestal.
I'm gonna ask you to do something you don't want to do. Give me one. Give me one Townes Van Zandt song that you most relate to.
Oh, gosh, it's always hard when people ask those questions. Maybe Waiting Around to Die.
Waiting Around to Die.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of his more famous ones. He had Poncho and Lefty.
Yeah.
He had If I Needed You, I think it was.
Yeah, that's a beautiful song.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think Waiting Around to Die, I mean, I'm sure I could go through the thing and boom, name a few, but I think the title says it all, and that's kind of Townes's, really, his outlook. It's funny, he said, "I will die before my work is finished." Yeah, he almost seen the future coming, and there's a really good, fantastic documentary on YouTube that's free called "Be Here to Love Me," the Townes Van Zandt documentary, and it kind of follows that, and it's a real interesting if you're a songwriter to watch that.
Final comment. I may be wrong, but I think he wrote that song when he was in his 20s. I think, wasn't he?
Oh, it's a funny story, actually. Yes, that was his very first song.
Oh wow.
He had just got married, and his wife says something on the documentary, like, he finally, that's what he wanted to do. He figured out that's what he wanted to do, is be a songwriter. They had this nice apartment his parents were paying for, and he had this little part in the closet where he'd sit and write all the time, she said. And she said she was hoping for a nice love song or something, since they just got married. And then no, he comes out with Waiting Around to Die.
Oh, that's a great way to start a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a real quick wrap on Broken Man. When I say the modern golden age of music, two things. One was the uniqueness in your voice, and two was lyrically being able to connect very quickly. And for me, hey, I'm a few years older than you, and I have a few scars as well. And I go through some moments. So there was an immediate connection for me. Let's get to the second song called What We've Lost.
I look at you and I look away, looking for better reasons to stay. And there were things that I didn't know, tell me to stay. Then you asked me to go.
The lyrical hook for me was, I look at you and I look away, looking for better reasons to stay. I came across something that you posted on Facebook, Jamie. I wrote this song last year and released it as a single. It's about leaving a toxic relationship and searching for a better life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, because I think we all go through these toxic relationships or friendships, even, situations. But in the song, it's definitely directed at a relationship. I think subconsciously these things all kind of melt together. All, these bad relationships probably all melt together, and they're just, kind of infused in my subconscious. But in my mind, I feel like I've been there 1,000 times, sitting there just looking and then looking away and thinking, I don't know if I have any more reasons to stay. I think I've tried every reason, and now I gotta go, and that you brought that up about looking for a better life. That was one of my biggest struggles in writing those 20 songs in those 9 months, which was fast. I personally felt it was fast, for me at least. And I could not escape that that topic of leaving a bad situation and looking for a better life. I could not escape it. I had to force myself a couple times to not go down that road, because I feel like I lived that road, and that's what wants to come to the surface is run, get out of here, find something better, don't get stuck in this situation. And I feel like I've had a lot of that in my life. And so when I go to write songs, a lot of times it'll want to go that way, so sometimes I have to reel it back. And I like to tell stories, other kind of stories, in my songs too. So they're not all like that, but there's enough.
Well, as I listened to the tune several times, and I had your quote in the back of my mind. My reference back to the golden age, actually, my reference went back to a Bob Dylan song. Actually, one of the very first songs I tried to learn to play on guitar. Don't Think Twice, It's All Right.
Yeah.
Now, when that song came out, it was in the early 60s, and I was pretty young, and I had no idea what the hell it was about, right? And even though it kind of has a nice little beat to it, it's a pretty angry song. At the end of the day, there's a line in there, you could have done better, but I don't mind. You just kind of wasted my precious time. It's all right. But it wasn't. It's all right was sarcastic.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just saw an interesting parallel between your song, What We've Lost, and that particular song. I do have a very specific question. If
Yeah.
I were to ask you, and guess what I'm going to, what was lost?
Everyone, I think, wants to find love, wants to find love, wants to be loved, wants to belong. I think that's just a human, it's what humans want to be, is like loved and connected and accepted and belonging and things like that. And when that doesn't happen, it hurts. It's a brutal thing. And that doesn't have to be in relationships either. It could be just situational, even with friendships, things like that. When something kind of pushes you away from what you were trying to get, and you felt like you really needed, it hurts, and it's a heavy loss. And I feel like when I say what we've lost, it's all the time, all the attempts to try to fix it, to make it feel better, all the promises broken, this and that and the other, all the damage done. Yeah.
You talk about promises being broken. One of my all-time favorite lyrics is Springsteen, where he says, "For tonight we will be free because all of our promises will be broken," or something and
Thunder Road.
Yeah. I mean, but what absolute truth there is to that.
Yeah.
What we've lost. Again, it's off to the album On My Own. The third song that you picked is World Ain't Perfect. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction here, and then I'm going to ask you your connection to this.
Okay.
One of the things that I always find interesting is how a singer-songwriter comes up with a lyric with one intention, and I connect with it in a totally different way.
Yeah, right.
And such is the case in this song, World Ain't Perfect. And you unknowingly have a line in there that is directly related to why you and I are even talking today.
Well, I met a man down in New Orleans. We were at the bar when I told him things about me, and we drank all night. Another round and a cigarette, and he told me about the day she left and his regrets.
I met a man down in New Orleans. We were at the bar when I told him things about me, and we drank all night, another round and a cigarette, and he told me about the day she left and his regrets. Well, you don't know this, but that line is really similar to a time in my life. My wife had died. I was living in my house all alone, and I just needed to talk to I just needed to connect. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I walked into a place called the Yard House in Westlake, Ohio, and there was an elderly man there, and he was reading a Guitar World magazine. Hey, I gotta ask, what are you doing reading Guitar World in a bar? That was the first, Jamie, of conservatively 250 or 300 conversations that he and I had over several years.
Oh, wow.
He was a widower. I was a widower. And we're just a couple old dudes. We talk about our wins in life, but more importantly, we talked about our losses. And we talked about music, always about music.
Yeah.
And then he was gone.
Oh, no.
And I missed that thing, that thing. And it was trying to resurrect that inspired me to start Phil's Tracks back in at the end of 2020, 2021.
Wow, that's interesting.
Several hundred videos in, Jamie, you and I are directly talking as a direct result of a situation in my life that you all but summed up in your line. We were at the bar when I told him things about me, and we drank all night, another round, another cigarette, and told me about the day she left. In this case, the day she died, and his regrets. That's what that meant to me. But what does this song, World Ain't Perfect, mean to you?
Exactly what it's called. World Ain't Perfect. Just about, here we go again with leaving bad situations, or even having those bad situations, as we spoke about in Broken Man, having those scars and just trying to move forward. You hear this line a lot. Well, he's had a hard life, or they've had a hard life. Well, I think everybody's had a hard life. I think no matter where you come from, you're dealing with hard things all the time. Life is hard, World Ain't Perfect is just a reflection of that. And it's funny, my wife asked me, you bring up that line, and I remember writing the song and my wife asking me if that was me, was you down in a bar drinking, or something. And the truth of the matter is it wasn't New Orleans I was in Florida. But so there's truth to it, but I'm also trying to tell a story at the same time, using parts of my life that happened and writing a story. And it just happened. New Orleans is where I picked, instead of Florida.
I don't know that I could point to a specific line, but I also picked up, it ain't perfect, but it kind of is what it is. And I'm going to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. Kind of.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes, and I think everybody has to do that. I mean, you get those scars, and you go through those battles and those experiences and those letdowns and heartaches and all that stuff. It does create your character. It does create a little bit of who you are. But in my case, I'm more protective and more, keep to myself. But yes, you do have to keep the train going. You have to keep putting the foot in front of the other and keep trying, no matter what. I think you have to always keep trying. You can't just give up. It's unfortunate to go through things like that, but there's also beautiful things in life that happen when you keep trying. So, yeah.
Well, I kind of went down a rabbit hole on this one, just to let you know. I was trying to think where I kind of heard the same theme before. Kristofferson.
Yeah.
Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Yeah. Great song.
He has a reference to putting on his cleanest dirty shirt.
Yeah. What a great lyric, too, by the way.
The beer he had for breakfast wasn't bad, so he had one more for dessert. The world ain't perfect in that kind of situation. Can kind of stumble down to greet the day. I think that was another line in there. He also has a line in there, perhaps the most powerful line in that song. It took me back to something that I somehow lost somewhere along the way. And that was after he talked about taking a walk, and hearing the people singing out of the church, and the kid kicking the can down the street, and
Yeah.
smelling the fried chicken, right? I mean, talk
Right.
about a master storyteller. He was
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
And so my golden age reference for your song, "The World Ain't Perfect," is Sunday morning coming down. You know, Kris Kristofferson didn't write the greatest upbeat songs all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course, he's known for Me and Bobby McGee. That's the
Yeah.
one that he's really known for.
Right.
But again, I digress. I'm going to keep on digging because I can. Earlier this week, I had a chance to watch the movie Deliver Me from Nowhere. That's the one about Bruce Springsteen.
Well, I just watched it too.
And I really didn't know what to expect. I should have expected the unexpected. I wasn't expecting the theme to be what it was.
Me neither.
I think the whole theme is about his struggle for his songwriting soul. It was about his soul, right?
Yeah.
Nebraska is about him trying to recapture him, and he didn't know what him was.
Yeah.
Is that what you picked up from watching it?
Well, I was shocked to tell you that that's the direction they went with the movie, and I was also shocked that that's what that was what was going on with him. Like the time I heard Bruce Springsteen, I was just a little kid. I spent the night at my friend's house, and his mom would blast Bruce Springsteen in the morning to clean the house. That was my introduction to Bruce Springsteen. I loved it. Born in the USA, that whole album, Thunder Road, all those songs. And so he's an upbeat, you know, when you see him on the MTV videos, he's an upbeat guy. He's having fun all the time, dancing on the stage, playing the guitar. So I would not expect the movie to have went down that route. So when I seen that, I was thinking like, wow. Now the Nebraska part, well, it seemed like he was just dealing with stuff that we all deal with, you know, in maybe a more severe way, you know, than others, but he definitely was dealing with some horrible things. And the Nebraska song, it's funny, they couldn't catch that sound. Like the sound was directly related to how he was feeling, the past, you know, all of it, all tied together. I think he got it on that old 4-track in that room. And, you know, and they were trying to like catch it in the big studio and all that, and he couldn't do it quite, you know, but then they ended up finally getting it. And I get that. I can understand he needed it to be that way, and he was fixated on it, you know, and he was fixated. It needed to sound like this, you know, and I could understand that. And I actually, Nebraska, I played a couple times, you know, just at home prior to the movie, because it was such a powerful song, I thought, you know, and right up my alley, gloomy and things like that. So, yeah, I didn't expect the movie to go that way, but I could definitely relate to some of the things he was going through. I think a lot of people could.
The final comment I've got is there is a little bit of a parallel. Obviously, compared to playing with the power of the E Street Band, the song is really stripped down. And for those that check out, you know, your album, your songs, there is a real clarity to it. It's you. I may be wrong. I'm not a musician. I'm not. Okay. It's you. It's a guitar and a harmonica, maybe a kickbox, maybe, I don't know, but that's it.
Yeah. I don't have a kickbox,
right?
But yeah, that is it. And that was the goal from the beginning, you know, even adding the harmonica was just me searching for a little extra sound to put in there. Bob Dylan using, you know, and it adds a flavor to the song, but I am a sucker for those guitar songs with just the vocals.
Earlier today, you sent me a track called America.
Yeah.
In fact, you sent it maybe 20 minutes, I think, before we got on the Zoom.
Right.
I listened to it 5 times already.
Oh, wow.
When is this going to be released?
In February, second week of February, it's coming out. I started writing immediately after those 2 albums. I might have gave it a month or something. And then I started writing songs. I bet I wrote 8 to 10 songs already, but I gotta love them too. to record them, you know. And I do have about 4 or 5 I need to record. America was in the mix of one of those, and I just wanted to get that one down. And when I started to write America, I had a totally different direction I wanted to go in. It was going to be about what America looks like today and why is it so ugly and why is it so polarized, and that was the direction I wanted to go in. But that didn't happen. So I ended up going down a nostalgic route. And when I was talking about seeing Townes and seeing these guys, and they looked just like my uncle, I mean, I just kind of went down that route in my mind. I mean, I started thinking about it, and that's the America I grew up in as a child. And we had fun and we played outside. We didn't have the technology, you know, we things were different back then, and I loved it. And, you know, I love today too, but I mean, I grew up then. It's very nostalgic and very important to me. So I started just writing down memories and things of growing up in that time period, which I know a lot of my friends and people can relate to, especially my age. And that's how I ended up getting on that track with America.
It's a great song. I I will tell you, you've really kind of captured just the fundamental discomfort that those who are baby boomers have about life in America today. You
Yeah.
successfully captured that. And I don't know the exact words, but there was a line that you had in there about your father worked in the mines, your mother raised the kids to end up with more than they did, or something
Yeah.
to that effect.
It was Daddy worked the mines, Mama raised all us kids to do better than they did.
Daddy worked the mines, Mama raised all us kids to do better than they did.
And
Yeah.
that was the fundamental driving force for those that went through the Great Depression. For those that were members of the greatest generation, their entire thing was, man, we just went through some crap. We don't want our kids to go through that. That was, as long as
Right.
our kids do better than we did okay. That was number
Yeah.
one. And
Yeah.
then there's in the verse you have a line about something about it under one God or something to that. What is that line?
Well, it's just when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about back then we were saying under God in the schools, and we were that played a significant part of our lives. And I think it didn't matter on what political side you were on. We mostly put, you know, God above everything, and most people believed in God, at least where I grew up. You know, that's what it seemed like. And today it doesn't seem like that anymore. So when I say when that warm summer breeze brings back those memories, and then talk about the God in that's the chorus of the song. That's kind of what I'm referring to.
And when that warm summer breeze blows in those memories of a land I love, one God above, America.
When I bring it up in the school at the end of the first verse,
Yes,
about being in the school and how they must have forgot this, you know, that so I think it's just important, and it's just part of my life, and part of that generation, I would say.
for us baby boomers who are so proud of the music that we grew up with, so much of the music we grew up with, the songs were a reflection of the times.
Yes.
Earlier today, I just had a conversation with my podcasting partner, Trip Rogers, and I said, as far as I'm concerned, the most definitive song of the 1960s is For What It's Worth. And it just talked about what was going on at that time. And of course, there's Ohio, you know, the song by Neil, same thing. And what you've done is you have successfully sort of captured the fundamental missing piece that many of our age see in the life that we live today. And I just congratulate you on it. I can't wait till you get it out. It's just a great song. Hey, Jamie, thanks for everything that you shared with us. We're gonna make sure we include some contact information, Jamie, in this video's description, especially those up in Northeast Ohio. There are ample opportunities to catch Jamie live. This is the world premiere of the modern golden age of music. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And your music. And again, for all of the listeners, let's do this. Let's keep the coffee hot. Let's keep the connection strong, and let's keep this conversation continuing.